Whoa! All right, this is exciting. Let me make sure this is working. Looks like it is. Let's see. So this is my first live stream. Jenelle took the baby, left the house, not forever, but this is my first weekend away from the baby. So 3 nights, no baby, no fiance in the house. And at 47 years old, I figured when the cat's away, the mice will play. That's a phrase I used to hear. But the idea of playing has shifted a lot from my 20s till now. So, for example, cracking a seltzer and not a beer for this live stream, and I'm home in an empty house playing with cameras and computers and lights and stuff. So, yeah, it feels a little strange being alone with, having an 8-month-old baby, which, if anybody out there has kids or you've been around kids, you can only imagine when you're around them, it's just the constant observation and energy and attentiveness that you need. When that's not there, it feels weird. It's very strange. So I also wanted to kind of just pull the Band-Aid off and live stream for the first time just to kind of get a hang of it. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I have no idea how the, settings are kind of fleshed out. No idea how my audio is going to turn out. But I figured if I don't try, then some of the future ideas I have for live streams aren't going to happen. So I want to have some where Jenelle and I come on and discuss sort of the nature of, our parenting journey as new parents. We've been talking a lot recently about having a second baby. We still have to get married. There's all this stuff. And I think sometimes it would be kind of cool just to sit down with her and go over, not only questions, but just stuff that we've been talking about. And one idea in particular I know she had that I really liked is kind of going over some of the worst parenting advice that we've received and maybe didn't know it was bad until, starting out this journey. So, yeah. So I am going to, I guess, just see how this goes for future reference. So, yeah, being alone for the first time. Excuse me. I'm going to need to have a beverage every couple of minutes here, a sip. So this is night 2 of an empty house. And I can say definitively the strangest time for me is not right now, wasn't even necessarily during the day, because sometimes on weekends, Jenelle might step out with the baby, run an errand or whatever, and I might, hang back, record a video, whatnot. It's right before bed. It was super weird last night. And this morning waking up. So last night before bed, Jenelle went camping with her parents. So she took the baby's pack and play, which is currently what she's been sleeping in at night because she still sleeps in our bedroom. And that's just for, we have her bedroom is set up, but it's on a different floor. And more importantly, Jenelle's still breastfeeding. So it just helps to kind of keep her close. She doesn't sleep in the bed with us, but she's got her own space. It's next to the bed. She gets up every 2-3 hours. And when she does, it's just better for her to be close by. So with the pack and play removed, the bedroom just has this big empty space in the corner of the bedroom. And I was talking to my mom today, and it feels like there are moments where I'm walking around the house and it feels like my fiance took the baby and left me. And maybe that's some of my own trauma, my own baggage bubbling up, with a couple of divorces under my belt, which I've discussed on this channel more than once. But it was weird, it feels weird. It's quiet. You'll have these moments where there's plenty of baby toys and books and little pieces of clothing or little just things here and there. And I'll catch myself, I'll see something in the corner or I'll walk by and I'll kind of smile, Even right now, I can see into her bedroom. I can see, a bookshelf with a little night light, and, it kind of brings me warmth. But then I'll have moments where I'll realize like, oh, I haven't been around her, and really where that kind of crystallizes is in the mornings. I've been saying this, I've only been a father. I'm going to air quote it a little bit because I haven't really done the tough stuff yet. But I've only been a father for about 8 months. And in fact, yeah, yesterday was our daughter's 8 months to the day. And to me, so far, there is nothing sweeter than a morning baby. There, at least ours, I can't speak for others, but like every morning this kid wakes up and it's like the sweetest, most lovable, like most amazing thing that, it's just, it's like a groundhog day type thing, but like super amazing, not like a dead end job Groundhog Day thing, or like, oh God, every day I just got to deal with the same old, crap or whatever. This is like, oh my God, this is amazing every single morning. So this morning was tough. You wake up, it's bittersweet. I was able to FaceTime in the first hour or two of being up, having my coffee. So that's good, but it's not the same. So, yeah, so that's essentially, I figured what better time to do a live stream than, when I knew I had, an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, to myself. I don't know why I said that weird, to myself. So, other than this, knocking out a couple of videos, doing some cleaning around the house, which I know Jenelle, if she ever sees this, will be like, okay, we'll see. Catching up on laundry and going for walks, the gym, and sort of finding some time to relax and kind of like decompress. Other than that, there's really not much going on. And it's bittersweet not having my family here because, like for example, Saturday mornings we walk to a local cafe, we get coffee, of course we bring the baby. And I went for my walk today and I just took a different route. And yeah, it's just different. It just hits different. Like prior to my daughter's arrival, a little bit of extra free time to myself, I would have been like, all right, very cool. And I'm focusing on like stuff like this, which I knew I was going to try and to stay, positive, and it is nice. But it would be even better if when I'm done recording this, 5 minutes later, Jenelle walked in the door with a baby and we could have dinner and do our thing, So, yeah, lots changed. I can tell you definitively that at least for myself, and if someone's out there watching this and you're 27 and they're like, ugh, I don't know about this. I don't really want to settle down. I want this. Hey, do what you think is best for yourself. But I can tell you that in 8 months so far, all my questions have been answered definitively, that the arrival of my daughter has shifted my priorities and my focus and where I want to spend my time significantly. And I had received a comment recently on a video, and I'm not calling this person out because I've probably gotten 5 comments over 20 videos, so it's not like it ain't hard to find the comment. But the comment was essentially saying, the video was about things I don't have patience for at 47, and just kind of an observation of what I'm not, I don't want to say able to handle, but how there's that old book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And what's crazy to me is as I get older and I take on more responsibility and I have more experiences, I actually stopped sweating the big stuff. And I'm able to rally and cope and process and maybe even thrive on the back end of the big, chunks or the big ticket adversity items, I'll call them, right? Like a divorce or the death of a loved one, or somebody gets really sick, or just bigger stuff. You know, your car breaks down. Now, I feel like from my 20s to my 40s, that has switched where, you know, traffic was like a thing that I never even thought of when I was 27. I was like, what? I don't, I don't care about that. Now, drives me absolutely insane. And, you know, the comment recently about that I had received on that video was that I sound like, they said something along the lines of, I sound like a snob, and that they're afraid that I don't know it, you know, and it wouldn't kill you to take 5 minutes to make small talk, because that was something in this video that I said was hard for me, was that when I'm with my family in particular, and people want to make small talk, oh, your baby, so cute, whatever, I'll say it again. I'm very appreciative of that. It is very touching. But I also lose a little bit of patience for, and you know, circling back on having the house to myself, when I don't get to see my family all the time. You know, it makes it so when I do, that's the priority. You know, to that commenter, not the 5 minutes that I got to make small talk with a complete stranger with whom I'm never going to, you know, meet again, see again, talk with again. And, you know, I following up on that video, or kind of like circling back, I do treat everybody with respect. I do like to have quality interactions with people. I try not to be short and dismissive. It's the inside where I'm like, Jesus, can we just keep it moving here? You know, I don't get to see my baby for 45 to 50 hours a week. I just want to hang out with her and her mother, you know? So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Alone in this empty house, with a camera and a computer and some food, my seltzer, and yeah, and my thoughts. I have a couple of things I want to touch on for this stream, and I think it's going to be sort of all over the place. I really don't like the idea of doing that, but I also think if I'm going to record like this with just, you know, a couple of notes, just bullet points of things that I want to, I don't know, hit on, I think it makes sense to just kind of go off script a little bit, you know, just, I don't know, keep it loose. I made a video recently about uploading, you know, why I'm uploading videos. Speaking of live streams that no one's going to see, why I recently uploaded a video, why I upload videos that no one is watching. And I actually that was something I really wanted to get off my chest. And it was for two reasons. Well, a few. Those few reasons are in that video. And they kind of, you know, orbit around my daughter. But something that I touched on in that video about growth and this idea of making content as a job or as a means to get rich or, you know, be a full-time career. I understand that what I consume on YouTube, that YouTube is, you know, the algorithm is designed to feed me more of what I've been watching, which I actually think is really interesting. I found myself recently going on, I call them like retraining binges, where I'm trying to recalibrate what populates my, you know, my feed initially when I open the app, or when I open the app on my TV, for example. If I'm watching too much content on something, I've been a lot better recently at identifying when I need to fire up some other just completely unrelated topics and videos that will start to shift what YouTube is feeding me. And, you know, I watch a lot of, or I have historically watched a fair amount of creators in the filmmaking, photography, and you know, the gear that filmmakers and photographers use. I've been in that community. And when I say in it, just consumed, you know, a lot of that type of content. And as that starts to get a little toxic and that starts to give me, you know, fear of missing out and wanting to make purchases that I don't need to make, I start to realize like, okay, I'm going to shift toward, I don't know, let's say it's the Boston Celtics and it's in the middle of the NBA season. I love how the NBA packages the game highlights. So if I can't see the game, I'll throw on, you know, those. And what I like is if I'm getting too down a rabbit hole of certain content, I'll kind of try to retrain what YouTube is showing me. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I have not started uploading videos on this channel with the intention of making it big and being rich and whatever other reasons people make videos on YouTube. But I do need to be honest, and I feel like I was in my video, but I don't think I touched on it quite enough. I would love to build a community here. Here. I don't know why my voice is cracking. I'm too old for a cracking voice. I would love to build a community. You know, when I posted that video the other day about why I upload videos that nobody's watching, I received the most beautiful, thoughtful comment from somebody who said, I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a couple of paragraphs, and they thanked me for making the video, thanked me for being vulnerable and opening up. But what they said was that they've been battling, wanting to start hitting record or uploading and making content, but they've had a lot of doubts. And hearing me open up as to why I'm making videos that currently nobody sees, it gave them inspiration. And it's that kind of moment where I'm like, you know, it would be cool and amazing and wonderful to have a community that I, you know, of like-minded people or people that appreciate me just opening up. And I'm kind of going the long route here, but this is what's going to happen with the live stream. I believe, and this was kind of interesting, I started to do a lot of research on YouTube channels. I used to have a YouTube channel, and that I've discussed on here before in the last couple of months, but I have a previous channel that is still out there. You can still go see it. There's approximately 50 videos or so, maybe a couple more, but I've been locked out of that account. So the reason why I started this channel about 6-7 months ago was because I had to start a new one. And I wanted to. I kind of had played with the idea. I was going to rebrand that old channel anyway, you know, change the name of it and stuff. But the long and the short of that other video was that I loved the time capsule nature. You know, sometimes Jenelle will go back and watch some of my older videos. I was in different relationships throughout the life of that channel, different experiences, traveled to different parts of the world. And she had said to me recently, again, another video I've made recently, or a couple months ago, is that I wasn't being myself here like I had been in some of those older videos. She thought I was more, it wasn't so much genuine or authentic, but I was showing the camera more like multiple facets of my personality instead of just the, hey, I have thoughts and reflections and feelings. How about I share? Which I can talk a lot. I don't know what to tell you. But I just lost my train of thought. God, that's awful. But so as I was researching starting a new channel, I started to kind of lock into some creators' channels that would, God, I was going to make this a separate video, but I actually think it's good to talk about here instead because I'd rather just riff on it. It's just an observation, but I started to pay attention to middle-aged people that were coming across my feed that were starting YouTube. And the reason why I found it so inspirational, it's not, again, not the reason. I had already made the decision. I'm starting a channel. I'm going, you know. I had mentioned in my other video that I wanted to create a time capsule that my daughter could look back on in 20 years, 40 years, whatever, and see, you know, glimpses of her father when she was a baby. See glimpses, you know, and moments of her mother. And if she wanted to do that, you know. And I think it's really cool. I actually think it's the coolest thing about YouTube is the fact that you can build up what I call, and this is what they called it in art school, is like you're building a body of work. And what I love about the nature of a, you know, a streaming platform or a place that hosts your videos is that theoretically they should live there forever. And you can go back in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years and see a snapshot of a different, completely different season of your life. That was my why, you know. I think a cherry on top would be, sure, it would be super cool to build a community and, you know, have a place to bounce things off of people, you know, have comments to respond to kind of open up a dialogue, answer questions, me ask questions. I am not poo-pooing that, you know, and if somebody comes to YouTube and they want to grow and they want to monetize and they want to, you know, turn it into a side hustle and have that side hustle maybe eventually turn into a career, I am not, you know, crapping on that whatsoever. I'm just at a place in my life, I know that if that's my driving force, it sounds weird to say, but I won't show up here as frequently, and it will apply a certain level of pressure that will make it, I don't want to say not fun, but I feel like every time I hit record or I write down an idea, it's like, talk about Groundhog Day, with each video, once it's done and I upload and I'm going to record the next one, it reminds me of what, you know, I think it was Ian McKellen, the actor, said, is that even in his advanced age, at this time when he said this, I think he was in his late 80s, early or 90, and he said, I still get nervous before every play. And he said, I still get sick. I still throw up. Decades of doing it, right? And there's a part of me that I don't get nervous doing this, but it's almost like internally I have a check-in as to why am I doing this? No one's going to see it. You know, and that's why, you know, making a video is like, well, why do this if nobody's watching? Makes a lot of sense for somebody like me because I'm owning that feeling that creeps up. You know, when you get 4 views or 11 views, or you get somebody telling you like, hey, you sound like a stuck-up a-hole. It makes it so it's like if I'm recentered and refocused, kind of like you do in meditation. They tell you just, you know, when your mind starts to wander, you refocus on your breath, you know. It's the same thing for me here. After every video, it's almost like I start the process over again. And it's not, it's not nerves, like it's not like I'm nervous. It's almost like that internal check-in, like, nope, it doesn't matter. You're still going to show up and you're still going to do this. So why am I talking about any of this? Well, it's because unfortunately my feed started to be like overrun with tips and tricks, how to grow, settings to change on your channel, why you're not growing, hooks, thumbnails, titles. It's exhausting when you know, and that's the thing with the algorithm. Like, I don't even like saying the algorithm, but whatever voodoo, digital, you know, backdoor voodoo magic that YouTube is to serve you what it thinks you want to see based on your watch history, it works well, but it also, it exhausts me. And that's why, like I said earlier, I do the retrain every once in a while, and it's usually with content that's completely different. It's tough when, you know, so for context, I'm 47 years old. Right out of high school, I went to community college, and I was a fine arts major. My intention was to transfer to a 4-year college and get a bachelor's in fine art. I wanted to be either a filmmaker or work on movies, whether that was a camera operator or, a DP or cinematographer, or actually there was a time where I was like, I don't know, like computer, like CGI is becoming a thing. Like that would be super cool to be an animator or, whatever. And it's hard for me in the current sort of landscape, and I know recently YouTube, my feed was blowing up with this about the new requirements for monetization and all this stuff. And I keep coming back to the same place where sometimes I'm watching these videos from very successful channels that have grown, either multiple channels or one channel very much, And so it's not like I sit there and I go, oh, this advice sucks. And this is a little bit of a rant right now, but what does bother me is the complete dismissal of art, the complete dismissal of doing something that you feel good about, the complete dismissal. It's so funny to me. I understand that these, really digital platforms of any kind are constantly evolving and changing, hence why, a lot of photographers hate Instagram right now versus how they felt about it 10 years ago, and the advent of TikTok and YouTube Shorts and all this stuff, and how things are constantly being tweaked for improvement. But it seems to me, a lot of the creators that I follow, at least I want to say 30 to 45% of them, it doesn't matter if they have 10,000 subscribers or 10 million. I just like their vibe. I like their aesthetic. I like the stories they tell. I like the films that they make. I like the short films they make, the videos they make. And it's crazy to me that the same platform that spawned like Casey Neistat is also the same platform now where I get thousands and thousands and thousands of different channels telling me how to grow. More than half of those channels haven't grown anything. I mean, there was a video in my feed the other day about, it seemed like a nice enough dude encouraging people to upload and why it was so important. And I looked and, I looked at the videos because I kind of liked the guy. I was like, this guy seems all right. And I looked at their other videos and I looked at their channel and they had like 300 and something subscribers, which I know that the subscriber count doesn't matter. Quality video or something that resonates with you, that's what matters. But I'm not sure I can take someone seriously who's attempting to grow their channel by explaining to me how to grow my channel. Little cart before the horse, I can't think of too many other things in life that you can be an instructor, you can offer advice, you can train somebody, but you haven't done it yourself. Honestly, it really bothers me. And what bothers me maybe even more than that is no one's acknowledging it. I don't see, at least the stuff that's been on my feed, I'm not seeing people acknowledge like, hey, don't take my advice for it. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to learn how to do this in front of you, but I'm not going to tell you what to do because I haven't done it yet either. And it's like, I just wish a few more people would be a little bit more transparent with that, kind of like, instead of trying to put a curtain in front, maybe like let us glimpse behind the curtain, because all we got to do is look at the fact that you have 112 subscribers and you've had videos coming out for a few months. I'm not really sure why you're telling me what I need to do to grow my channel. Again, it feels a little sort of cart before the horse, but I think the broader issue for me is that when we dismiss art and what your motivator is to make content, to make videos, I took umbrage with somebody recently in a comment section on a different video, and it was just because I felt like their advice completely dismissed this entire, like, the thing that perplexes me more than maybe anything is the explosion of YouTube and the explosion of earning money on it, and the fact that it's now, what was the recent statistic, is that more people consume YouTube on their television than they do on their phones, or than Netflix or any other streaming platform. So as this platform gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people flock to it to make money, to make it big, whatever it is they're trying to do, like I said, even a side hustle or something, you're getting more and more people that don't even know if they want to make videos. Again, it seems very crazy to me. Like, you hear this a lot out there with the advice, just hit record, just do it, just make something, just use your phone and just turn it on and start talking. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I'm not saying that's bad advice. But if all you had to do was turn on your phone and start talking because you felt compelled to tell a story, or you felt compelled to make a short film, or you felt compelled to just take video clips that you loved, you would have done it already. And maybe that's the art school snob part of me, which I don't believe that I am, but it's kind of crazy. It's like if all of a sudden we had people who wanting to be musicians because of Spotify, or Apple Music. And I'm not saying that that's not the case, but there is still a certain barrier of entry to be a musician, right? And I'm not talking about AI crap, and I'm not talking about, I'm just saying, as this music streaming platforms have exploded, I don't see, at least me on my Spotify or on my Apple Music, I'm not discovering a lot of artists where I'm like, oh my God, has this person even ever played guitar before? And I can appreciate that the barrier to entry on making a video is not quite the same as making a record, or a hit single or something. I'm just saying that there are so many people on this platform that are making content for reasons other than their enjoyment of making content. And I feel like we've lost a lot of that, where it's like, sure, some people can make a really good living on this platform, but at some point, many of them likely started because they were passionate about making stuff. And that passion got them returning to the well over and over, which got them to improve, maybe, study a few things, and maybe just stay in the game long enough where they built a community and they built an audience, and then they built a little bit of income. But to me, that's different than all the stuff that I've been seeing. So this is really just a roundabout way of me explaining that I had to retrain my algorithm today, throw on some NFL preseason highlights. I always follow nutrition stuff, longevity stuff, occasionally weightlifting stuff, but because I like to stay up on current studies. I don't want to say trends, but there are certain people that have channels when it come in that space that I like to catch up on. So that'll retrain my, of course that presents this a whole other ball of wax, because now my feed tomorrow morning when I wake up is going to be 7 ways to lose visceral body fat, by eating this one food or whatever. So yeah, this is what happens when my fiance takes the baby and leaves me home alone, is I'm just going to rant about stuff. Rant is kind of a harsh word. Okay. And forgive me for looking off camera maybe more than usual, because I'm trying to make sure this thing is still running. Yep. I still see the live button. Yeah, so that's good. Let's see. Just some, I don't want to say quick hitters. I want to have Jenelle on in a future live stream. I think I have everything I need to facilitate that. Had a weird audio situation popping off here. Excuse me, that's a seltzer. But I do want to have her on because, oh God, excuse me. We are, so I say we, I am in a rush, and rush is not the right word, but if I could wave a magic wand, I'd be married already. I slip up all the time and call Jenelle my wife. If you've, just again, for context, I've made videos about this and I will make future videos about this. I've been twice divorced in the past for two wildly different reasons. And in the video I made about it recently, I touched on the fact that, like, I'm not trying to pretend that I'm a victim, but most people, until they hear the totality of the experiences, they assume that I'm a scumbag. Okay, and that I don't know how to be in a relationship, or I cheated on both women, etc. And it wasn't like that. So, and go watch that video if you want to know what really happened, because I don't want to get into it. I could talk for an hour on it, and I already have. But Jenelle, to me, in many ways, feels. I'm not saying this is fair, because I know it sounds unfair. Feels more like a wife to me than I've ever had. Yes, a lot of that has to do with our daughter, most of it, but it also has to do with the lead up. I made a video today, actually, that's not posted yet, about my experience with low testosterone. The fact that I'm on a woman's fertility drug. And when I was really struggling and suffering the symptoms, which were, lethargy, brain fog, fatigue, depression, severe indifference. I didn't care about anything. All the while we were in a relationship and I'm trying to figure out if I want to be a dad. And I felt like awful, She stuck with me through that. So there are other reasons. It's not just because we have a daughter. I mean, that's reason number one. But I want to be married. So we're also trying to juggle that, what that looks like. Are we going to elope, which I love the idea of, or the sound of, just me, her, and the baby, and an officiant. And then maybe having just a small party with immediate family, after. Strawberry watermelon, by the way, fantastic. So, just getting back on some sort of track here. I want to be married. We're not. I don't want to rush it. I want her. She's been kind of juggling a lot of things. She runs her own business, so she's doing that. She's home with the baby, all day, and just so she's got a lot popping off. But yeah, so that's a conversation. I'd like to have her come on and us to kind of just kick around some ideas with that. We have had, speaking of the video I made today or recently about the low testosterone, the women's fertility drug that I'm on, I will be on for at least the rest of this year, and maybe no more than an extra year. The reason is my doctor asked me if we were going to have more children. And we've been having the second baby conversation quite a bit lately. And that's because I don't want to be on Clomid, which is the drug, longer than I have to be. And I love the idea of keeping my options open with with my sperm count. But I also, there's no long-term studies that have been done. It's my understanding, according to my doctor, no long-term studies have been done about the long-term effects of men on this drug. And I've already been on it for 2 years. We have our daughter. And if I had transitioned to TRT, the injectable testosterone, there is a high likelihood that we wouldn't have our daughter, because it would most likely terminate my sperm production, I guess, my natural production. So that has been something that we've been kind of trying to nail down. That's not the right term at all for that. I guess technically, but we've been discussing, because there's two main things for me on this, and I want to do a live stream with her. We kind of talk about this, is that I'm of the mindset that it's hard for me to imagine loving another child as much as I love our daughter. I also understand that just like prior to my daughter's arrival, I had no idea what it would be like to have a daughter. I also have no idea what it would be like to have a second child. So all I can do is take my current experience, apply it to, project it forward and go, oh, okay, so we'll have, kid A and kid B. How am I going to split my love, between the two? And I understand, or at least the close friends I have that have more than one kid will talk to me about this, because I'll ask them questions about it. And, I understand that it's not so cut and dry, and it's not like that, And for background, I grew up, Jenelle has a sister. I grew up as an only child, single mother. Fun fact, I absolutely hate, I've done better recently, but typically I have absolutely hated when people make only child jokes. Oh, you're an only child? Oh, that explains a lot. Oh yeah? What does it explain? You just fire off these phrases. Like, what does it explain? Am I a selfish guy? Maybe. I'm guarded with my food. I don't know why that is. I like to eat what's on my plate. I don't like to start firing out, let people pick off it. And since I've been older, part of me losing patience is because I've been selfish with my time. And if the time is spent with family, the time is spent editing a video or doing whatever, I try to protect that. And I really, the biggest part of why I'm sharing, the only child, is that when I watch my daughter play and figure things out on her own and just kind of sit, and she might have a ribbon, she might have a rubber spatula that she loves playing with from the kitchen, she might have a book. When she is doing that in that moment, it makes me want to cry. Not out of sadness. It's this overwhelming feeling of watching my daughter process and figure out her little fingers and figure out her little life and these little changes. And like, when I see that, it makes me think of my childhood. When I'm old enough to remember my childhood, when my mom, she was a full-time student for for a handful of years. And for example, I was like 5, 6 years old. I would be in my room playing alone. And I'm not saying this so, woe is me. I'm saying this because when I see my daughter in her room, she'll crawl to her room, start pull out a book and just be looking at it, or, playing with whatever. And it's when I see that, I think of me in my bedroom while my mom was working on, midterms, or she was working on a collage or a painting or something in the living room at her drawing table, and I'm playing in my room by myself. When I see that, it does make me feel like I don't want her to grow up an only child. And it's not because I'm a selfish douche. I don't think that I am. It's because I always wanted a sibling, especially as an adult. I always thought it would be super cool to have like an older sister and a younger brother, or I don't know, maybe an older brother. The only thing with the older brother thing is like, it makes me feel like the kid just would have like beat me up all the time. And like, I would have hated that and been super frustrated, especially because, that would mean our dad wasn't around. And so he would be like he'd be the tough guy. I don't need that. But, yeah. And so the second baby conversation has been coming up a lot. The flip side to that coin is, I think, the fear and the anxiety and the hesitation that probably everybody has if they're planning to have a child or thinking about it and not just, oops, it's an accident, is the financial kind of aspect of it. The place we're currently living in, it technically has the space to support a second baby, but not long term, maybe a couple years tops, which is our plan. Couple years, buy a house. But I don't know. It's an interesting place to be. You know, I'm 47, Janelle's 37. We don't have a ton of time. You know, her sister had her daughter a few years ago. Her daughter's almost 5, and she's trying to have a second child. It's like, now's the time. And I'm like, oh, okay. We can't afford to wait that long. You know, so, and I don't want my daughter, if she had a sibling, I want her to be close enough in age where there's at least a period of time in her childhood where she can enjoy, like they enjoy interacting and they enjoy playing. I don't always want it to be adversarial or, you know, too much of a distance. My ex-wife, her and her brother were like 8 or 9 years apart. She's like, yeah, I hated him until I was like 30. I'm like, huh, oh, cool. Well, that's great. So yeah, I mean, lots to discuss. I'm going to pack it up, have some dinner, maybe, I don't know, give Jenelle a call. She's, I don't know if I said this, she's camping with her mom and dad. They're both recently retired, and her dad's gone down the rabbit hole of, you know, getting a big camper, doing that whole thing. So he's like super stoked about that. So Jenelle and the baby, this is their first like weekend away with her parents and, you know, setting up the camper and stuff like that. So, and they went out to, I live in Massachusetts. They went out to southern New Hampshire, so they're close to the ocean. They went to the ocean today. So I am bummed that I missed that. My daughter's first day at the ocean. I guess it was really cold and cloudy there, so they didn't stay long. And she was kind of freaking out. But yeah, there'll be, there will definitely be more of that. I just, I'm not a big fan of, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4 full-size human adults and a baby staying in a camper that really just sort of has one real bed. Also, her dad understands. He's in his 60s. You know, at 47, I've been that guy for the last like 5 years. I get up 3 times a night to pee. That's just a thing now. It's just, it doesn't matter. You know, if this is the last thing I drink, it's 7 o'clock. If this is the last thing I drink tonight, or I drank 3 more, I'm still getting up 3 or 4 times tonight. Yeah, so prostate, that's cool. Yeah, so, yeah, I think I'm going to put a bow on this. 52 minutes. I just wanted to test this. I have no idea what this is going to sound like or look like. Yeah, it's my first time using OBS. And like I have my computer going, I have my laptop here in front of me, multiple things connected, and yeah, let's see if this was a tech nightmare or if I actually pulled something off here. But yeah, I'd like to do this every couple weeks or so, but we'll see. It would actually be nice to do something with Jenelle after she puts the baby down. Because, you know, being live, she can, if she has to go up, if the baby starts popping off, she can go up and take care of that. I can kill the time. Okay? I can talk. I'm just kidding. I'm not a talker. All right. I think that's it. Let's do this.